Hi, and welcome back to this three-part series on stocks, an introduction to them. This is the third and final video in this series, and it is on owning stocks. And I'm going to be going through three things in this. The first is where to find stocks. The second is some basic things to consider in looking for them. And the third thing is what to do when you actually own the stock. Again, this is the brief introduction to all three. So we'll start off with where to find them. So as you may have seen with some of the stocks that I've just used as examples over the time, they're kind of all around you to some extent. You may be surprised sometimes when you see that something is publicly available to buy. And it's always worth looking out if you want to be investing into products you buy, or maybe even the company you work for buys, services you or a company you work for use, or friends or family. And examples of these might be, you might use Netflix a lot, for instance. You might use Zoom, and all of these, well, those two things you can buy shares in. And so, as I say, if you think something is of great use to you and you really enjoy it, then you may well want to become a shareholder, and it may give you an indication that what it's offering is a very good product. The third thing you can do is look for online databases, and there are a lot of websites with all sorts of different examples of stocks, and I've given one example here, and this is a website that has done a highly rated and well-performing group of ESG companies that we went into in the ethical investing slides, and those are companies that rate highly on their environmental, social, and governance metrics. And there's 50 altogether. I just put in the top 9 here, so you can look up a website like this and then see if you recognize any of the companies, see how they've done. And there might be 2 on this list that you recognize: Microsoft and Hasbro, maybe or maybe not, but they're the board game guys that I'm pretty sure did Monopoly. So there are these interesting ways to see that these companies are around you, and as I say, you might not know that they're necessarily public companies. Then some basic things to consider when you are choosing to invest. And there's some questions to ask yourself. Is the company a market leader, or is it on the way to becoming one in what it does? Does it have something special that other businesses don't have? Some sort of maybe special technology or partnership or culture that really sets it apart? Does it align with your values? Very important thing as an owner and as someone who is going to maybe hold on to this. And leading into the next thing, is it going to be around for at least the next 20 years? Because when you buy, you want to be holding onto a stock for as long as possible. And I'll show you why now. This is the share price of Microsoft since 1990, over the last 30 years. And it's obviously one of the best performing companies, so not all companies are like this, and I'm not encouraging you to think that that's the case. But over this period, the share price has gone from $1 to around $200. That's 200 times your money in 30 years, 90% return each year for 30 years. But as you can see, the crucial thing is it's had fluctuations along that time. It looks like it's just one easy ride to hold on to, but it's been a bit of a roller coaster. And because it's gone up so much recently, it kind of smooths out what really happened in the past. But you can see back in 2000, it had an enormous fall, going from 60 down to 20. That's more than half that it fell, and that was the height of the dot-com bubble, the tech crash, where a lot of companies like this fell in value. And you could have thought, oh well, this is over, I'm selling now, but then you would have missed out. Even if you bought at the very top before it fell at 60, you still missed out on that rise out to 200 now. And there have been other iterations of that, like in the GFC in around 2008. You can see that the company also halved from $40 to $20. So a bit of a roller coaster ride along the way, but the main thing is, once you buy, if you believe in the company and you're a supporter of it, then you just hold, and in the long term, the company should do well. If you, as I said, if you believe, and there'll be some fluctuations along the way, but the main thing is to try and not let the emotions get the best of you. Then another important consideration once you own stocks is to diversify. So the more stocks you hold, the less risk, because one could go completely down if you have all your money in one, but the more you have, the more you will be spreading that risk. Obviously, you're also spreading the ability to make all loads of money, but I think it's obviously a lot more important to feel that safety. So some ways to diversify is to buy into different industries, because you never know if one industry will just become not very useful in the long run. Maybe that's oil and gas. Well, it certainly has been oil and gas. If you had bought into that in the last 10 years, it's just gone down and down. Then also buying multiple companies within an industry, because you might never pick the leader in one. And then also to diversify geographically, because countries can have different things happen to them politically, and the economies can vary quite substantially. And I'll give you one brief example of something why it would be useful to diversify, and this is within an industry. This is the car industry, and that's had enormous changes, as we know, over the last decade or so. And here you can see the share price of Tesla on the left, which has been one of the best performing car companies, probably the best performing in the world, and Ford, which was maybe like a Microsoft once upon a time, that people thought it's the best car company in the world, it's only going to go up and up. But it did do that for quite some time, and you can see if you were a very happy shareholder from the 70s through to the late 1990s, from around $5 up to $40, and then it collapsed. And part of this is because this movement towards electric cars, and you can see Tesla's benefited from that incredibly well, with the share price going from around $10 to $1,000, and Ford hasn't been able to really match that. So within the industry, you've seen these some winners and some losers, and that's why it's worth diversifying to some extent. So thank you very much for watching this 3-part series on an introduction to stocks, and I'll see you in the next video.